Hello everyone, this is the third episode of FimScripted. Today's episode, Age Swap Family Appreciation Day. Never intended this series of parallel Magic Duels fan service scenes so much, but oh well. Let's begin with our VAs reintroducing themselves and their current roles. Alright, let's say I guess start with Alex.
Alright, Herdy Brony's here, Brony Analyst. The roles I'll be covering for this episode are Narrator A, Macintosh, Daisy, Silver Spoon, and Uncle Strudel.
Alright, Cadet.
Alrighty, my name's Cadet Redshirt, and I'm going to be Cheerly, Sweetie Belle, and Narrator B for this reading.
Alright, Jennifer.
Hello, I'm Jennifer, Amateur VA, and I will be doing Granny Smith, AJ, and Apple Bloom.
Alright, John.
Hi there, I'm John Willow. Just recovering from a cold from the last episode. I'm going to be playing Filthy Rich, Diamond Tiara, and God, there was a third one, I can't remember now. Oh, Scootaloo, yes, Scootaloo.
And I am the host, Derek, the Ninja DC on YouTube. Alright, with all the introductions gone out of the way, let me introduce the episode, Family Appreciation Day. Written by Cindy Morrow, produced by Sarah Wall, story edited by Rob Ignazzi. Wow, I'm worried about that name pronunciation. Supervising direction by Jason Thiessen, and directed by James Wooten. Transcribed by Alan Back, and edited by myself. Let's begin.
At Sweet Apple Acres at night, a wolf's lonely howl echoes in the distance before the view dissolves to Applejack asleep in her bed, sans hat. Her slumber comes to an abrupt halt thanks to a sustained clutter of metal on metal. As she sits up to the bed, Apple Bloom comes to her door, a cloth cap pulled down over her mane. Applejack opens the curtains so she and Bloom can look out over the farmyard.
The Timberwolves are howling!
Granny gallops by, pots and pans hung over her back to create the racket that woke the sisters up.
The Timberwolves are howling!
Big Macintosh peeks out from the next window as another howl pierces the stillness. Yup.
The Zap Apples are coming! The Zap Apples are coming!
Big and little sisters trade a slightly concerned look, then break out in smiles.
Yay!
Yay! The Zap Apples are coming!
That's what I said!
Fade to black. Granny looks out from the loft window above the main door.
Hey, silly goose! Quit your gawking and move your caboose!
Next to a stretch of highly apple trees lay a tract of magenta-hued ones that are totally barren. No fruit, no leaves, nothing. Macintosh howls a cart stacked with empty tubs, while Applejack, with her hat on, has brought a smaller one in. Yup. Applejack throws a couple of tubs into position by the trees, grabbing their handles in her teeth to do so. Bloom is looking on, her bow in place, turns to call to Granny.
Ready, Granny? Ready for what? We're making Zap Apple Jam! Darn tootin'! It's time for some good old-fashioned Zap Apple Jamming! Yes, ma'am! I can't wait, ma'am!
Despite her enthusiasm, the matriarch goes back to her leisurely rocking.
Wait for what? To make Zap Apple Jam with you! Of course! Now I've been doing this ever I was a little pony, so be warned, Pickle Pear. There's a whole mess of steps in this process, and you got to get each one of them just right.
On the end of this, she enters the kitchen and retrieves a large platter from the cupboard.
jam.
Bloom holds out a broom over to her.
Take this. Is this one of your gazillion secret herbal ingredients for Zap Apple Jam?
Granny is right in front of her with the handle in her mouth. She passes it to Bloom, who gets a hold of it likewise.
That there's a broom. Now get sweeping, Pipsqueak. Now while you sweep, I'll get to, say something or, pony feathers. Well, I forget my mane if it wasn't attached to my head.
The Pipsqueak in question piles the Bloom on the kitchen floor. At the barren trees, many have tubs set at their bases now. Applejack gets another one in position as a strong gust of wind sets a few stray leaves swirling around her. Macintosh steps into view, her head lifted to sniff the air. The sky darkens to a foreboding gray as storm clouds rapidly move in to form an impenetrable blanket above the lifeless grove. While Applejack and Macintosh watch in trepidation, a few sparks of electricity begin to crackle among the branches, causing them to vibrate wildly on the trunks. The discharges grow, leaping from tree to tree and spreading to the outermost limbs. One cluster instantly sprouts a set of broad, deep magenta leaves at each end.
There's the sap apple leaves. Right on schedule.
At the main entrance of Sweet Apple Acres, two ponies are approached, one of which is Diamond Diara. The other is a light brown earth pony stallion with a dark gray-brown mane/tail, blue eyes, and a cutie mark of 3 money bags. He wears a white shirt collar, dark gray suit jacket lapels, and a red necktie that is not wholly visible due to the camera angle behind the pair. This is Filthy Rich. Next to a watering can with 2 others stand to either side of it, and spaces in between them, Granny hops through while singing the alphabet. She is now dressed in a lavender bunny suit, and Bloom falls in a blue one. Diamond is less than impressed by the spectacle, which is accompanied by Granny seeing her wave to P as she hops past them. The stuck-up little filly snickers. A total of 7 cans have been placed in a circle, and the 2 apples stop short at the laughing.
Well, how'd he do that, Filthy Rich?
Filthy speaks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Filthy speaks with the voice of a gentle older Southern gentleman.
Why, hello, Mrs. Smith. Did I hear right that there's a Zap Apple harvest coming in a few days?
4 days to be exact.
Excellent news. And as usual, I get your first 100 jars.
The camera shifts slightly to reveal that Diamond's attention is trained wholly on Bloom, who in turn is staring wildly at her grandmother.
Of course, Filthy.
I prefer Rich.
Oh, and how's your pappy doing?
You poor thing. Having to make all that sap apple jam with Granny Smith.
Bloom's bunny ears droop sadly during this line, after which Diamond mimes shoving a hoof down her throat to make herself vomit. However, the yellow filly quickly perks up again.
Actually, I've been looking forward to make Zap Apple Jam for years.
I'm not talking about the jam. I'm talking about Granny Smith.
Bloom, who confusedly takes in the sight of Granny stuffing her head in an overturned cauldron that rests in front of Filthy.
You must be so embarrassed.
Joke's on. What do you mean?
You know, with all her silly ways. How she forgets things. and makes you wear those ridiculous costumes.
Granny said that the water needs.
Thank goodness you're here on the farm and not in town, where every pony could see you.
Horror gradually steals Bloom's expression as the floppy ears fall yet again.
Well, don't worry. Your secret's safe with me.
Silly ways.
Filthy fetches the cauldron, a good hit with the ladle he now holds in his teeth. The spark sets the pot vibrating and sends Granny stumbling backward.
Did you call me, Filthy?
A very preoccupied Bloom walking down the Ponyville street along Granny. Both have ditched their bunny suits and are hauling loaded saddlebags. Bloom wears a light blue bonnet, while Granny has a broad-brimmed purple sun hat with orange polka dots and a green ribbon and white feather. The cauldron is gone.
Shake a leg there, Slowpoke. We gotta get a gaggle's worth of goods together before the harvest. Come along.
She begins to sing while hopping ahead of Bloom, drawing more than a few puzzled stares from the onlookers.
Gonna make apple jam, whoop-de-doo. Gathering the goodies and whoop-de-dee. Singing and dancing, yeedle-ay-doo. Flip-de-dee-flew, my darling.
Neither Bloom nor Daisy, the vendor behind the counter, is particularly amused at the outburst. However, the latter quickly recovers her composure and points out her wares with a smile. Granny eyes the spread carefully.
They don't make 'em like they used to.
Bloom arrives at the stall. She recoils in shock and catches her lower lip in her teeth at the sound of something striking against the metal. Granny is trying to gnaw through the rim of one pot. The sound was made by her teeth clamping onto it.
Hey, you biting? You buy it.
The elderly mare backs off, leaving her teeth, false ones dripping with saliva, stuck on the rim. She is quite at ease, ignoring both Daisy's dirty look and Bloom's sudden bout of revulsion at what she will have to do next. The opening of the filly's mouth is followed by her on the move, with the dentures jammed in there to give her the world's worst smile. However, the lighting of her bee on her nose gives her the perfect excuse to spit them out. Granny stands among the beehives at a honey stall and is wearing a beard of bees. Bloom sucks in a terrified gasp. When Granny speaks, her false teeth are seen to be the back of her mouth.
Why, hello, Beatrice, teacher. Oh, you all been busy little bees, haven't you?
She picks up one hive, tips honey onto it. She then buzzes happily to the bees while her granddaughter starts to ponder the idea of sending her to Ponyville Retirement Village.
Granny, isn't there a less silly way to get the honey?
She gasps again, having noticed the arrival of Diamond and Silver Spoon, and dives behind the hive to stay out of their line of sight. Her respite lasts for only a moment before two green forelegs reach down to yank her back up to the edges of her bonnet.
Oh, isn't this just precious? Please stop. And it is perfect for making our damp apple jam. Stop it, Granny! Granny, please! Those ponies over there are watching me. What? Are those fillies your friends? Hello, half-piped friends.
Hello, Granny Smith. Hi, half-pint. Mocking laughter drifts over to Bloom as she sinks to the ground, trying to hide as much of herself under that light blue bonnet as will fit.
What dolls? Well, when I was little, ponies didn't come that party. Now we done shoving, Granny, 'cause I'd like to get back to the farm fast. All done, Smelly Belly.
Again, she begins hopping along and singing.
I got my honey gooey goo.
Bloom, who pulls her bonnet down to hide her face from the onlookers,
Got my honey gooey ooh. Got my honey yiddly ooh.
dissolve through the exterior of the schoolhouse.
And by capturing the wholesale market,
The students at their desks are nearly all completely zonked out. Exceptions. Twist trying not to do the same. Bloom quite far down in the dumps. A chubby gray coat in the back, trying to hide a cookie from sight. And a bright-eyed Diamond. Bloom has removed her bonnet and is wearing her hair bow for the first time in this episode. The coat is truffle shuffle. Earth pony, short, messy dark brown mane tail, beady violet gray eyes.
purchasing in bulk and slashing our prices, we undermined every other gift market in town.
Filthy stands at the front, next to an easel displaying a sales graph. And Shirley is watching him doing his presentation. Truffle's cutie mark that can now be seen as a knife and fork.
And that's how Rich's Barnyard Bargains became the cornerstone of retail in Ponyville.
Diamond is the only one to applaud, clapping her front hoofs instead of stomping on the floor as ponies are done in past episodes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Filthy.
Filthy reacts very badly to being addressed that way.
I mean, Mr. Rich. What a wonderful day of sharing. And thank you for being a part of Family Appreciation Day.
He leaves. She goes back to her desk.
Now, let's see who'll be bringing in a family member for next Monday's Family Appreciation Day.
On paper, a checklist shows the faces of her students. Each one is marked off except the last, Bloom's.
Oh, Apple Bloom.
The red-maned filly, in the midst of taking notes, lets the pencil drop from her teeth.
But Miss Cheerily, Monday is Zap Apple Harvest Day, and Applejack and Big Macintosh will be too busy to come and speak.
Well, is there any pony else in your family that could?
Bloom leans forward and shakes her head frantically. Diamond, however, seizes the moment and leans gleefully into view.
Miss Cheerily, Apple Bloom's Granny Smith isn't working the harvest. She could come.
Oh, but, no, that wouldn't.
That's a splendid idea, Diamond Tiara. Apple Bloom, you shall bring in Granny Smith on Monday.
The electric bell on the wall sounds off, cut to just outside the schoolhouse door.
Have a great weekend, every pony.
The students follow her out, with Diamond bringing up the rear and toasting a vicious little squint back over her shoulder. Bloom is left alone at her desk.
Granny Smith? Come Monday, I'll be the laughing stock of Ponyville.
She lets her head flop forward onto the desk. Fade into the grove of zap apple trees during the day. Each sports a full display of leaves, with a cartload of tubs deployed. A cargo of watering cans is taking their place, and Macintosh is using one to water a couple of trees. A short pan frames Applejack with the second can in her teeth. She places it in a smaller cart as Bloom trails her. The younger sister drops to her haunches and aims a placating smile up at the older, who just sighs wearily.
I'm sorry, Apple Bloom. I already told you that we just can't take a break from harvest to come to your school. You know what'll happen. I know. After the 5th day, the zap apples disappear.
Here comes another gust of wind. just like the one that brought the leaves to the trees in Act 1. Dark clouds again fill the suddenly gray sky. This time, though, their arrival is marked by flocks of raucous crows from all directions. Gray joins the trio in a blur of white hair and green hide.
Oh, the third sign!
The crows have made two concentric apple-shaped rings that frame the family as a center far below.
Right on time! Hot diggity!
Sparks start to crackle up and down the trees, and pale blue buds appear among the leaves. In close-up, one of these unfolds into a star-shaped blossom with a yellow center. The same happens with all the others, and the clouds break as suddenly as they arrived. The sky is blue and clear, the crows are gone, and the sun goes about its normal business of shining down on this flipped-out orchard.
Wow! Alright, you lazy daisies, move your caboose!
She shambles off at her usual snail's pace. Macintosh hustles out the other way.
I'm sorry, Apple Bloom, but don't you fret. Granny Smith's got no shortage of entertaining stories to tell. No, that's what I'm worried about.
She glances after Granny, dissolved to a long shot of the Cutie Mark Crusaders clubhouse. It can now be seen to stand at the edge of the Zap-Apple Tree Grove, and an observatory has been constructed in the top of its tree, with a ramp leading up to it. Cut to a close-up of one window. Bloom's pacing silhouette can be seen through the glass.
Don't be embarrassed! Shamed!
Inside, Bloom paces before Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle. A ladder has been set up here to allow access to the observatory.
Disgraced! Mortified! Humiliated!
The end of this last adjective gets muffled by Sweetie's hoof shoved in her mouth.
What are you, a dictionary?
Snap out of it. We're here to help you.
After all, we are the Cutie Mark Crusaders. We'll figure out a way to postpone your presentation.
Yeah, but how?
She sits on her haunches with a groan, her forelegs wrapped around her belly.
All this worrying is making me sick.
And her gut seems to agree, judging from the rubble that emanates from it. The comment sets both of her friends, partners, accomplices to thinking.
Sick?
The little Pegasus is first to get an idea and jumps up so vigorously that she hits her head on the overhead lantern, turning it on.
That's it! Come on!
One orange foreleg sneaks into view and whisks her away. We're up to the family's kitchen, where dozens of empty jars are arrayed on a countertop, and pan to the doorway. Granny pops behind the glassware, wearing an old steel army helmet that is rather too large for her head.
And hot! Now listen here, troops. I don't cotton to any whining or crying or cracking under pressure. Do I make myself clear?
The hit bumps one jar that stands slightly apart from the others. After a moment, a webwork of cracks spreads over part of the surface.
Court martial!
In an instant, the defective jar is flung across the kitchen, smacking against the wall and dropping into the trash can. Wiped to an overhead view of Bloom's bed as she is dumped onto it on her back. Scootaloo pulls the blanket over her.
Stay still, Apple Bloom. You have to look sick.
Here comes Sweetie with a bunch of green grapes. She crushes a few of them and begins to smear the mush onto Bloom's cheeks. At the other end of the bedroom, Scootaloo has thrust a thermometer on into a steaming teapot. When the mercury tops out, she removes it and shoves it into the Ursat's patient's mouth, eliciting a cry of pain.
Hey, this is hot! What in the hayseed is going on in there, silly Billy?
During this line, Granny starts to climb them, and without her helmet, then back to the bedroom. Sweetie hastily scrubs grape slop over Bloom's entire face, and the tea-potted bunch are quickly hidden from view as Granny enters the room.
Oh, Granny Smith. We were just about to come get you.
Apple Bloom's sick. Looks like she might have to stay home all week.
The elderly mare approaches her sweating, green-faced granddaughter and takes a very close look at the thermometer. Unicorn and Pegasus smirk to themselves as Granny mumbles to herself and leans in to feel Bloom's forehead.
Perfect as a Piccadilly pear.
Granny Smith zips off. Bloom slumps down.
Yeah, what?
Dissolved to the exterior of the Crusaders' clubhouse under a pink-tinged afternoon sky, the telescope swings a bit.
It's already almost sundown.
Inside, she has cleaned herself up and put her mane back in order. She darts towards Scootaloo, who rears up to get her forelegs out of grabbing range.
Tomorrow is Sunday, and I only have one more day to figure something out.
Sweetie pokes her head down from the trap door at the top of the ladder.
Hey, look!
Bloom zips over and mashes half her face into the telescope, and the view cuts briefly to outside as the instrument shifts. Through her perspective through the lens, first very blurry, then sharper as he gets it in focus. Shooting stars are raining down over the zap apple trees through the purple sky of the early evening. Back to the trio, including a much happier Bloom, now up on the stool.
Here's the fourth sun.
She gets body checked into the wall by Scootaloo, who takes a peek of her own. A bit more adjusting, and the lens shows her perspective, tilting up from a trunk to leaves of one tree. In one of the light blue blossoms burst to expose a dull gray apple hanging in its place. Scootaloo's telescope perspective reveals the same thing happening to all the other trees as she shifts her view from one to the next. Inside, Scootaloo gets pushed to the stool's edge when Bloom jumps up for a fresh look.
The zap apples have appeared.
And that gives me an idea.
Applejack and Macintosh haul cartloads of watering cans toward the barn as a bush near one tree starts moving of its own accord. Once it has reached a clear spot, the heads of all three Crusaders pop out. They were using it as cover.
We can't move Family Appreciation Day, so let's move Harvest Day instead.
Don't look quite right.
Harvesting apples never hurt an apple.
I don't know. Zap apple trees aren't like normal apple trees. They're magic.
How different can they be?
Sweetie lifts her hind legs and delivers the strongest buck she can, sending a lick of electricity up the trunk. When it reaches the branches, though, it comes right back down and into the would-be harvester's body. The shock is so strong that she is flung backward past the others.
Well, if we can't buck 'em, let's just pick 'em.
Scootaloo nods enthusiastically, and Blooms gets her jaws locked around one gray apple. Instead of snapping off, The stem stretches like a rubber band to leave her dangling in midair. Scootaloo jumps down on Bloom's tail, and Sweetie does likewise with Scootaloo's. The last filly, standing on the ground, starts backing up. The entire tree top ends up bent over at a 90-degree angle due to the rising tension in the three-pony tug-of-war. A puddle in the grass causes her to lose traction when she steps in it, and the tree snaps upright to hurl them across the twilight sky. At Mudfield Pigsty, in which two porkers are having a good wallow. One of them looks up in surprise as the Crusaders drop squarely into the muck.
Any other bright ideas?
In front door of the barn, Charlie reaches into view and knocks. Cut to a shot of the entire structure. It is now the following day.
Granny Smith, it's Miss Cheerilee. Applebloom said you wanted to speak with me.
She gets no response except the sound of distant farm animals.
Hello?
She looks inside one window. Her next three lines are muffled by the glass.
Granny Smith.
Picks herself off with a gasp as Granny's head pops into view. From this angle, a pair of large red-framed glasses can be seen on her face. She is slumped over somewhat. A head-on view shows her in the rocking chair by the stairs. Her eyes are greatly magnified by the lenses, and ropes tied around her forelegs lead up to the second floor. When Granny starts to speak and move, it instantly becomes clear that her granddaughter is imitating the voice.
Well, hello there. How do you do?
Oh, hi, Granny Smith. Is, everything okay?
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
A sudden turn of the head dislodges the glasses, which turn out to have the eyes painted on the lenses. Granny is in fact asleep and being used as a marionette. A panic cleaned up Bloom peeks out from behind the chair. It turns the head to face front and puts the glasses back in place. One foreleg is adjusted to cover Granny's mouth as if she has just burped.
Excuse me. Nickels always give me the hiccups.
On the second floor, Scootaloo pulls on the free end of the ropes with her teeth. At the top of the staircase, Sweetie works the other rope, which loops around the banister. They have also cleaned up from their plunge into the pigsty. Bloom, below and behind the chair, moves Granny's mouth to simulate speech.
I need to tell you that I can't make the presentation on Monday after all.
Oh no! Is that so?
No doubts about it. I gotta shear the flowers and water the sheep. I have to water the flowers and shear the sheep.
On the end of this, Scootaloo, who rolls her eyes and shakes her head disgustedly. The view then shifts back to Charity outside.
Oh, well, that's too bad. We can reschedule.
Charity turns to leave and Scootaloo jumps for joy, inadvertently lanking Granny all the way up to the ceiling and waking her up when she hits it. The old green mare ends up dangling in midair, the fake glasses propped on her forehead.
Huh? Where am I?
You catch a sight of the departing school teacher, cut to just outside the door. Its top half bursts open and she looks out, now free of the specks.
Well, howdy, Miss Cheerilee. You window shopping?
No. you come here to tell me that you wouldn't be making it to Family Appreciation Day?
Fiddlesticks! I was missing for all the tea and Camelot.
But didn't you just say?
See you Monday.
Cheerilee takes her leave, trying vainly to decide if she has just witnessed a case of galloping senility, or the effect of spending a few too many days with the apple trees. We cut to a patch of wool, which gets a
All
large
right,
and
time for our first intermission. Normally we would be discussing the most recent episode, but due to another criminally long break, we can't discuss episode 100 just yet. However, we'll be discussing their season 5 thus far, along with currently the best pony in the world right now, American Pharaoh, who's now the most valuable horse in the world.
Yes. He's gonna get all the mares.
Sorry, someone want to explain that one to me?
American Pharaoh is just won the Triple Crown the first time in 37 years.
All right, this is a horse racing horse.
Yeah,
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's in America. It's yeah.
I didn't know
a big
about
horse
it. I live
race.
in America.
I think
Okay.
previously he had won the Kentucky Derby back in May.
I see.
Kentucky Derby's a
I
big
didn't
race,
know
but
either, John.
But yeah, Kentucky Derby, I know you're from England, so technically you're from Scotland, but yeah, it's so I don't know how where you worse, but it's generally the Triple Crowns, the three big races in the U.S. Kentucky Derby is the biggest horse race in the world, and it's the one that kicks it off. However, the really big award or idea is basically you win the three. I don't remember their names of the other two.
It's the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah. So those three, and a horse hasn't won it, all three of them in 37 years.
I see.
And it's been a while. And I just was glaring through some notes, and the horse is valued just for breeding over $100 million right now, just for that, just for breeding rights. And
Wow.
again, since he won the Triple Crown, it's been so while. He's probably also just good. There's a good possibility of movie rights or whatnot too.
Wow.
Like Seabiscuit status.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seabiscuit or Seabiscuit. I can't remember the last one had another big movie. Secretariat.
Secretariat.
Secretariat, yes.
But the funny thing I like to say about this is for American Pharaoh, he's a Kentucky bred and born horse who's owned by an Egyptian investor who was raced by an Mexican immigrant jockey who won the Triple Crown.
Nice.
A weird internationalness of it all.
So for breeding rights, he will be getting all the fillies.
Yeah, it's
And also
Oh,
the
God.
that during the Kentucky Derby, the city of Louisville, Kentucky, almost completely shuts down.
Yeah.
I don't always say shuts down, just becomes basically a giant party.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, 2 weeks before the Derby, they have a day-long celebration they call Thunder over Louisville. They have this big long festival near the riverfront, and then at night they conclude with a fireworks display.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, as I recall, it's at least, I haven't checked in a few years, I think it's the biggest annual fireworks show in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's run by the Rossi. Is it run by the Rossi family? I mean, the
I
ones
think Rosie.
who do the fireworks show.
I think it's Rosie.
Yeah, because they're the ones I think who also do the Riverfest fireworks over here in Cincinnati.
All right, but besides American Pharaoh, I guess we might as well talk other good news, which I guess is season 5 thus far. What are your all thoughts on it?
This is looking out to be a really good season. I mean, I haven't really seen any bad episodes. There's just every episode has its own good points.
I have to say that I agree. It's definitely shaping up to be a really good season. I'm glad we're starting to see some new things and some old things. Like new things is like finally a brand new male pony character, and a new kind of male pony style with trouble shoes. Discord comes back, of course, which is always fun, and I was really happy to actually see Gilda again too. So we finally get to see.
Same here.
Yeah, I was happy to see Gilda again. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I'm happy to see that Griffin, but I'm glad to see her again. And not only that, she gets redeemed. So, and I really love that they're showing more of Equestria.
You know, there was something pretty interesting in that Gilda episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know how in Tanks for the Memories they always talked about how, you know, this was the writer's way of showing death or the process of grieving in a way that stood for children.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then in this episode, you clearly see the skull of this ram god or whatever it was. So this is a character that's fallen to his death, and I'm not sure we've actually ever seen anything like that in My Little Pony.
We've seen skulls and all that, I think, before.
Yeah, I guess it's just never been clear how they died, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
they made a point to explain how the character died in the background thing, like sequence.
Yeah.
And then to show us that like we can see him as a, you know, dead thing is kind of different for what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, usually if you see a skull or something, it's like an Appaloosa episode, and it's just for the background. But you know, with this, it's more like, you know, this is someone who actually died, and I don't know. It's almost like saying the main six could die of an injury or something like that. I mean, I guess we have seen ponies getting injured before, you know, like with Rainbow Dash and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
So,
and also Brayburn with the Apple Who's Wanted.
Yeah.
I really like that episode from Rainbow Dash. I think that is the most emotional growth that I've seen from her in probably all the seasons. I mean, so I'm way too used to for her being, you know, like the brash and cocky kind of person. And seeing her and seeing her like the grief that she was going through with Tank, that seemed real. That seemed real, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that was great emotional growth for her, and a good change from just being, you know, just brash, cocky.
I also think with the Griffin episode, it shows a lot more character growth because she has to hang out with Pinky, and we haven't really gotten like that dynamic from the show before.
Right.
Where they are forced into a situation where they have to be together.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. So far,
Actually,
two
probably
great
not.
Rainbow Dash growth episodes.
Yeah, probably not since the last Griffin episode, you know?
Absolutely. It's hard to believe that the last kind of Griffin episode I think we saw was probably the last one I can remember was a Mystery on the Express.
Yeah, that one.
We did see Griffins in the background in Equestria games.
True, but they were like really quick. You didn't get to see one like actually, you know, talk or anything or interact with the cast or just anybody. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I think in general, I think season 5 is taking steps to become like the best season thus far. But again, it really, like I said, I have a feeling that's going to make it or break it is how the map thing gets worked out in the end.
I have to wonder how they're going to conclude this season. After the absolute epic that was season 4 ender. I'm excited for what they're going to do to top it out next.
Everyone becomes an alicorn.
No!
Thank you, Larson.
No. That will be the end of the family. If everybody becomes an alicorn, that's the end.
Spike becomes an alicorn.
You know,
Discord becomes an alicorn.
Oh god.
It might actually end up becoming kind of a subdued ending, you know, because I mean, not every season finale has been an epic kind of two-parter where there's a big flash of white light at the end, which is another thing. Why is it always white light? Anyway, but like in season 1 they had the gala, season 2 they had obviously the changelings, season 3 it was Twilight becoming a princess. So they mix and match.
And then season 4 you had that crazy showdown with Tyrek, and I like to say when MLP and DBZ kind of crossed ways with that ending. So so I really have to wonder what's next.
I kind of wish our fight with Tyrek lasted a bit longer. It was epic though.
It was. I was expecting that with Trixie, honestly, but I would not trade that, watching that magic fight with Tyrek more than anything, because there were some really, really high stakes there, and
oh yeah,
and it put Twilight in a really, really crazy predicament.
Oh yeah.
She went like triple god mode now because she had the power of all 3 princesses.
Yep.
But speaking of this brings up actually one topic I want to talk about. I mean, people joke about how everyone will be Alicorn princesses in the end, but I actually really do believe at some point, probably season 6 or 7, probably one of the other main 6 will become an Alicorn or something, the equivalent.
Oh no! No!
But I'm just saying, what do you think, if it'll be handled well, do you think it'll be potentially good development?
Maybe.
Not sure. Not sure.
Yeah, I just can't see it. Maybe. I mean, the better question would be which one of them would get a boyfriend first.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the fandom was already pretty up in arms when Flash Sentry came in for Equestrian Girls. All the Twilight fans were just.
Yeah, but that's a human Flash Sentry. We haven't seen her interact with a pony Flash Sentry yet.
True.
So.
Hey, it's probably the same.
Probably.
I guess.
Everybody's already shipping Cheese Sandwich and Pinky anyway, so.
To be honest,
I
I
think
think
Pinky and Smooth.
I talked about this on UK Equestrian a couple weeks back. Out of all the ponies, I think Fluttershy might be the most likely to get a boyfriend.
Really?
Because when you think about it, Rarity, she's so used to hanging around high-profile guys that she's never really gotten a chance to learn how to date normal people. So whenever she meets someone normal as displayed in the comic book, she gets a bit kind of talkative and ends up boring them. With Rainbow Dash, obviously she's too focused on her goal of becoming a Wonderbolt. Pinkie Pie, I think she's too childish to even recognize when she's being flirted with. And Twilight, obviously it's a human Flash, and I wish that the writers would actually address that.
Wait, what about Applejack?
Applejack, yeah, she'll probably wait until Apple Bloom's a bit more grown up, She probably has too many responsibilities.
But if I actually had to place bets, I think Fluttershy, but also I think Rainbow Dash has potential just because going with the Wonderbolts, if she actually does go with Soren, that actually would be the one possible scenarios.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they have interacted before and it's already an established male character.
Sorry for changing the subject like that.
Oh no, it's actually an interesting topic to bring up. Because I think that is one thing that will eventually be going into, not this season, I think, but next season or the one after that. Because I think this season's more focused on basically focusing on roles within Equestria, or more specifically the roles of the main 6 within the Friendship League or whatever you want to call the castle thing.
Yeah.
And I think next season will be more about their more emotional roles and developments, possibly say Rainbow Dash and Wonderbolt sort of thing.
It could be.
I've been I've been thinking a lot lately about Sweetie Belle. Like, I mean, we all kind of figured that at least I figured that the Q Mark Crusaders will probably get their marks this season.
I
My
hope so.
question is, how useful is Sweetie Belle's mark? I mean, we've seen that she's had a couple episodes where she's pointing towards becoming a stage performer, possibly writing and directing her own plays. But then you look at the reactions of some of her ponies, and I just wonder, is she gonna, be able to express her talent that well in Ponyville, or will she have to move somewhere else?
Well, I think with that is like not necessarily like stage thing, but like singing. She's like of the CMC. She's like has the most clear idea. Like we know where she's going with her talent, I believe, which is being like a singer.
Yeah. But this is the other thing. This is an entire town full of people who burst into song at any point. Even Rarity, who's a dressmaker, is part of the Ponytones. So it's like, is her talent really going to stand out that much among them?
I think there's this like one of those things where it's like there's technically just like singing that's like technically within the world. I think it's non-diegetic.
It's basically metaphorical. They're not really singing, but the writers show that as like some sort of meaning of what's really happening.
Yeah, I know. I think there are some songs where they're definitely singing. There's
of course, yeah,
like the Ponytones.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like she's the easiest to pick out. Apple Bloom it's like she's one of I find that trickiest just because we know we really don't know what's going to be related to. It could be Apple family or it could be like her like production skills or like it's like she's the hardest to like pin down, I feel. And then like Scootaloo, it's something with like extreme sports, pretty much, likely involving a scooter.
I was thinking it was going to. I had this theory that her cutie mark would be like a wheel, with wings on it, or a wheel with like fire on it. Since she's, I don't know, something like along the lines like that.
Yeah, perhaps. Oh god, that episode where she's like trying to whisk her away for the batter.
Oh, I want her to fly so bad. I really do.
The bittersweet moment in Bloom and Gloom where she's in the dream and she flies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or better yet, in the Equestria Girls movie when she's doing the chicken dance.
Oh no.
That was the reason why I was like, okay, you know what? I have actually got to watch this movie because that is so beautiful, that is so funny and so sad at the same time.
Did anyone ever read the spin-off comics of Equestria Girls?
I've
really,
read
no.
like I think 2 of them. I think there actually is only 2, but because it's been a while. That actually reminds me of a funny thing with the second one, which was the Christmas one. And like you brought up how it was a self-aware joke with Scootaloo being like the chicken dance.
Yeah.
Here's like I think this was another self-aware joke. There's like when it's basically they're talking about planning a sleepover.
Uh-huh.
Within this comic, and they're talking like, oh yeah, we can have it at my house now. And like Fluttershy's like, oh yeah, we can have it over my house too. And then like Rainbow Dash's like, wait, I actually have never been over your house. Like all these years I've known you. It's like I haven't even met your parents. It's like, and she's like, oh yeah, they're nice. And then like she gets cut off by Pinkie Pie. So we still don't know who Fluttershy's parents are.
That's right. We have no idea who like the Pegasi families are either.
No, we actually get some hint with like Rainbow Dash. At least her dad figure. Like, we have nothing with, like, Fluttershy. It's become, like, a running joke. So, like, that's literally inserted. Like, I swear that must be an internal joke.
I think I just thought of it there. You know how birds fly to nest and they leave the families never to see them again? Maybe that's what the Pegasi are like, They're birds and they fly away.
Does that mean when they learn how to fly, they was like, okay, we're gonna learn how to fly. We're gonna kick you off a cloud, and they're like, start flapping.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
And I can just imagine like kicking a little Picasso Philly off a cloud, and all of a sudden you hear this and
Yeah.
start flapping. You keep on hearing it or something. You keep on hearing it, and you just wait for the flap.
How do the Pegasus, go about, before they learn how to fly? Is there like a Goku cloud somewhere,
I don't know.
A Nimbus cloud.
I think they just get like carried around. But, they can walk on clouds, so they can still live there. Just can't really move around too much.
I know.
They have that flight camp. They have that flight camp up there. So wait a minute. They get sent to that flight to the flight camp, I guess, to learn how to fly or like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Going back to the earlier topic you were talking about the parents, that's one thing I would like to see in future seasons, like some interaction with the main six's parents. Like, we haven't seen much of them except for rarities.
You actually in the wedding. You actually see Twilight's in Candlelit wedding. No, not Candlelit wedding. Sorry. When she becomes an alicorn, you see her her parents for like one split.
Yeah, you always see them in the background, but they're never really featured at all.
Oh, and we know AJ's parents are stars now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, wasn't there some story a while back that, Twilight Sparkle's mother was meant to be the writer of Daring Do?
Oh, it was a background in the comic. Like, there was like a poster that said like Daring Do awards, like that her mother won. And so many people were like, took that as like, oh, that means she wrote Daring Do. And then like when it was like introduced, like Daring Do is the writer, it's like, oh, that means it wasn't canon or whatever. But it's really just like a background poster that just says like Daring Do awards. So like could be just like I forget her name, like the writer of Harry Potter.
J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, it could be like getting a J.K. Rowling award for like writing or something like that.
I see.
So it's like, yeah, she got the award. Doesn't mean she actually wrote Daring Do or anything like that. Just means she's a writer of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Going back to what I was about to say with the first Equestria Girls comic, there was a scene where, like, Babseed comes in, and she's actually older than the main six, maybe roughly about 14 years old. So what's everyone's thoughts on that? Like, in the human world, she's actually much older than the main six.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but it happened.
I want to say, here's the thing I like to bring up, like the age thing and like the Equestria Girls, that it's not a straight conversion. There's a lot of like things that are not like equally converted. Like, I think the two big examples I bring up are, one, Granny Smith is not like older than Celestia by far, and two, that it'll make the relationship between Cheerilee and Big Mac very awkward and possibly illegal. So like the age changes are not even.
Well, I mean, she could technically be a little bit older, because when we're given the human version of Twilight, the actual human version, she's very like stereotypical nerd.
Mm-hmm.
So, taking that into perspective, she could have been a little bit older as the pony version, just because of the way that she dresses and how she holds herself and all of that jazz.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Like, all the main six generally are more mature and whatnot, but I mean, within like Ponyville versus high school setting.
That is the thing. We never actually found out if Big Mac's in high school, do we?
I think we've seen him sitting at that cafeteria table, that one scene.
Oh, yeah, like one scene during the the cafeteria song, and then that's
I
it.
see.
Yeah.
Well, my theory's out the window.
All right, we're gonna have to cut this chat for now. Let's just get back to the episode. Read. All right, let's pick up back up. Everyone ready?
Ready.
All right, let's begin.
Hold on.
Wait.
Got us. Hold on.
One ready, let's go.
I have one line.
All right, everyone's finding their spot. Let's see.
All right. I think I'm ready.
All right, let's kick off the second half of the episode.
Let's see. Where did I leave off? Let's see. Okay. You cut to a patch of wall which gets a large and vivid pink dot painted onto it. Granny's hard at work in the kitchen, decorating every vertical surface in this fashion, using the paintbrush in her teeth. A pink gown and splattered drop cloth rest nearby. Zoom out slightly and pan to the doorway. Scootaloo and Sweetie are watching her with considerable puzzlement. A moan from Bloom draws the pair's attention.
I can't believe she woke up from her nap.
They are near the rocking chair, and she lifts her head.
She never wakes up from her nap. I wish I could just go run off and hide.
A brief silence is followed by Sweetie's big smile.
Well, you can't run off, but maybe some pony else can.
Scootaloo's eyes pop. They cut to the Zap Apple Orchard in the throes of a violent thunderstorm. Applejack and Granny make their way across the yard, the former clapping a hoof over her hat in order to keep the wind from clamming it, and the latter free of the manipulating ropes. Just as the two previous storms, the sky clears to a tranquil blue. This time, though, a vivid rainbow appears over the trees, and the sparks start flying in the clear weather. The gray color on one apple gives way to rainbow stripes that appear one at a time, and multicolored beams start to shoot between the trees. Within seconds, every dull fruit is taking on this vivid appearance, and multicolored auras shimmer around the trees once the beams and rainbow die out.
Yeehaw! The Zap Apple harvest has begun! And tomorrow we'll be making a Zap Apple jam.
She runs face first into a paper being held up by an orange hoof attached to a purple uniform foreleg. Scootaloo is right in front of her, dressed as a telegram delivery pony.
Miss Granny Smith, telegram.
Scootaloo bugs out, and Granny lets the sheet drop with a smile after reading it.
Well, bust my buttons.
Scootaloo and Sweetie are hiding around the corner of the barn. Sweetie staffs a lap behind one hoof.
Uncle Apple Strudel wants me to pay him a visit. And you can just make the 8 a.m. train. I already packed you a bag.
One tough toss lands them across the gold greenback.
That was considerate.
Here comes a smack to the rope that starts her off down the road.
But don't you worry, Flibberty Dibbert. I'll be back in time to make that jam.
Bloom sighs as Scootaloo and Sweetie peek out from inside the barn. Scootaloo has removed the uniform.
That train ride takes all day. I'm safe.
It dissolved to the exterior of the schoolhouse.
For today's Family Appreciation Day,
Charlie addresses the class from behind her desk as Twist walks in to take her seat.
we are pleased to welcome Granny Smith.
The door is open and empty.
Well, Granny's failure to work in leaves cheerily at a loss.
Elbow Bloom?
Bloom relaxes nonchalantly at her desk, her forelegs tucked behind her head.
Is Granny Smith here?
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Cheerly, but she got called out of town on account of a family emergency. Well, howdy, my little ponies.
Granny has arrived in the flesh, scaring the bejesus out of Bloom and prompting a very nasty smile from Diamond. He cut to black. Fade into the classroom. Granny makes her way over to Cheerly's desk.
Howdy, y'all. I'm as happy as a pig in fresh mud pile to be here. Whoa! What are you doing here? Did you miss the train? No, it came.
Your second elderly pony has entered the room. A tan stallion, a silver white mane tail, white beard mustache, dark blue eyes. He wears a Tyrolean hat with long orange feather secured by an apple pin, a white shirt, and brown lederhosen and saddle basket. The latter displays a slice of strudel in the spot of covering his cutie mark.
And Uncle Apple Strudel was on it.
Aw, noogie. Bloom gets her mane thoroughly tousled, left from here's direction, and she trudges back toward the desk.
I can't wait to hear Granny Smith's presentation. If she can remember any of it.
These last words are delivered in a whisper and start both the spoiled rotten fillies giggling. Up front, Strudel sets a chair down for Granny, whose rump promptly knocks it back to the wall when she sits.
Long ago, when I was a little pony.
Granny, with a rolled sheet in her teeth, lets it drop open to display a map labeled with the locations of Ponyville, Cloudsdale, Kinderlot, and the Everfree Forest. Zoom in slowly on this.
Things were very different in Ponyville, 'cause there was no Ponyville.
Dissolved to a sepia-toned stretch of grass waving in the breeze. The corners of the screen are rounded and blacked out, suggesting a view such as that through an antique stereoscope. Tilt up to frame a band of settlers traveling across this stretch of land and hauling supplies. Earth ponies all.
That's right, my little pony. Me and my family were pilgrim pony folk back when I was a little filly.
The stallion pulling the wagon wears a cowboy hat, shirt, and overalls, and has an apple seed cutie mark partially hidden by the harness. Walking alongside is a light-coated mare whose mane and tail are tied back. She wears a white shirt collar with ribbon tie, and her cutie mark is an antique sewing machine. Granny's past self brings up the rear. Light-colored mane and tail braided, bonnet, same apple shawl and pie cutie mark as in the present day. She turns away from the caravan.
Oh, we ventured far and wide, collecting new seeds and selling the old. But my pa was the finest seed collector in all Equestria.
Cut to a long shot of Canterlot as the travelers approach the outer gate.
Then one day, the Smith family found themselves in the most brilliant, most grand, most magnificent of all cities, a place called...
A nudge swings the portal open. Beyond it is the frontier version of the opulent capital.
Canterlot!
Inside, Philly Granny leads the way down the dirt road, past the tents and under the strings of banners.
Well, I bet your hooves to hindquarters. I had never seen anything like it before, nor since. And as if the beauty of that city wasn't enough, suddenly,
A perspective of a crowd, all of whom kneel before Princess Celestia in her 4 Pegasus-drawn chariot.
she appeared, Princess Celestia, the most regal of all ponies. When lo and behold,
She steps out. Granny's father, the wagon puller, sets down his seed bag.
she stopped to look at my pa's seed collection.
Celestia turns her attention to the travelers, who look as if they could use at least half a day's sleep.
Then Princess Celestia saw that we were plumb tuckered and hankering to find a forever home. And being a royal princess and all, she knew exactly the place for us to lay our stakes.
Behind the waving mane, the background dissolves to a view of the tracks laid out below Candlelock. She and the family are now on a balcony of Candlelock Castle, and the family takes the suggestion with gratitude. Mr. Smith kisses one of the gold shoes, a gesture that earns a disapproving glare from his wife.
My pa gave the princess a mighty thanks.
Dissolved to a stretch of the land indicated by Celestia, with the Smiths visible as silhouettes coming down a hill with Everfree Forest not far away.
We quickly found that land near the Everfree Forest, and we built our first home.
A seed being dropped into a freshly dug hole and covered over. A longer shot and zoom out frames Philly Granny watching from inside as her father waters the plantings. She has doffed her bonnet.
Next, we planted our first orchards.
She turns from the window and finds the rest of the family gathering at the dinner table.
But an orchard don't grow overnight, and we were getting mighty short on food.
None of the other ponies had fared any better, and Mr. Smith shares in their dismay when he looks in at the poultry spread. Cut to the exterior of the house. It is now nighttime, and the lights go out just before Philly Granny slips out towards the overgrown wilderness, saddlebags on back and bonnet on head.
Now, mind you, we were cautious about the forest, and we knew it was not fit to enter. But I knew if there was critters living there, there must be something to eat.
Determination trumps fear and drives her to resume her advance, dissolved to a long shot of her moving cautiously through the tangle of foliage.
It was dark and musty, and I won't lie, it was scary. But every inch was covered in plant life, and before I knew it, wasn't I standing in front of the most incredible...
She reaches the base of a broad tree, with a profusion of rainbow-striped zap apples ready for harvest. Granny stares wonderingly up at the strange fruit.
Apple trees! I had never seen anything that bore this kind of colorful fruit. Oh, I started picking apples quick as a whip.
An animal shape races past, briefly startling her out of her gathering work. The next one runs behind her and howls. Now they have her entire frightened attention, and snarls cut in. Here are 2 wolf-like beasts stand ready to strike, their bodies constructed from limbs and bark. They are the literal timber wolves whose howls marked the start of the present-day zap apple season.
I turned, and there before me stood the timber wolf.
Slitted eyes shine in the gloom. The formerly intrepid explorer breaks into a full gallop out of the forest, but the creatures are in hot pursuit.
Why, I never run so fast in my life. I did the only thing I could think of,
which was to snap her teeth onto the handle of a pot on a table outside the house and pound it against a larger pot hanging over a dead cooking fire. The noise causes the timber wolves to stop just short of the homestead's perimeter and to back off reluctantly. The glowing eyes of many others in the bushes wink away as well. Now Mr. and Mrs. Smith open the door and catch sight of their terrified daughter, her fright of zap apples intact. Dissolved to a new hole being dug by Mr. Smith and a seed being planted by Granny. Then cut to a longer shot of the pair. It is now the following day, and he covers the seed, one of many new plantings. She pats the dirt into place, having removed her saddlebags.
My pop and I planted those special apple seeds. And before our eyes, they grew like wildfire.
With a blinding flash, sparks, and smoke, an orchard of mighty trees springs up. The view clears to show Philly Granny sitting atop one of them and wondering exactly how she wound up here.
Why, we had full-grown apple trees faster than you could say lickety-split.
She laughs as her father eyes the instant orchard happily from ground level. Dissolved to earth, walking among the trees which are now in full bloom. She has her bags on again.
Then each year, I pay close attention to the signs of the apples, special harvesting time, how the weather affects the everfree forest.
A timber wolf howls under the full moon outside at night as Granny watches from her room.
How the timber wolves howl when the zap apples first start growing.
Dissolved to a zap apple being picked by Mr. Smith. With no warning, the fruit still in the branches disappear in a crackle of sparks, surprising the family members on harvesting duty. Philly Granny has her bonnet but no saddlebag.
And how they zapped away if you didn't pick them all in one day.
Cut to a close-up of a cake and muffin, whose rainbow stripes give away their main ingredient, and pan along the full length of a table loaded with similar goodies.
And the fruits of our labor were the best fruits we ever tasted.
A large pot boils on the kitchen fire, tended by Philly Granny.
Soon enough, I was mixing up batches of zap apple jam.
She takes a taste and works her tongue around it critically.
Just like harvesting the zap apples had its special rules, so did making zap apple jam.
Dissolved to her at a beehive outside. She taps it and offers a bouquet of flowers to the emerging bees.
I learned that you gotta be extra friendly with the bees, otherwise their honey won't taste right and sweet to mix in with the zap apples.
In the kitchen, the army helmeted Philly reviews a row of empty jars.
Who'd have thought that glass jars needed talking to?
Just as in the present, she smacks the table to bump one jar slightly. Now she starts painting polka dots on the wall, having put the helmet away and literally spattered herself.
Or that zap apples like pink polka dots. But magic is as magic does, just funny that way.
She hefts a box of full jars by its rope handle in her teeth and heads out. Cut to a stand set up at the edge of one orchard. Its sign is decorated with zap apples, and Mr. Smith stands behind the pyramid of jars as Philly Granny, now clean and back in her bonnet, brings up her load. An insanely long line of ponies on the dirt road wait to buy. The first is already taken on a hefty freight and bears more than a passing resemblance to Filthy.
Then ponies started coming to our farm from far and wide just to get a taste of my zap apple jam.
Granny watches from the stand.
Some even decided to stay, like Stinkin' Rich, Diamond Tiara's great-grandfather.
Dissolved to him, sat up at a table next to a decorated tent of his own. His cutie mark can now be discerned as a cent sign. Mr. and Mrs. Smith walk up.
Matter of fact, the first thing he ever sold was my zap apple jam.
Dissolved to the exterior of a clapboard store sporting an overhead sign marked with zap apples and Stinkin's face. Stacked jars of jam can be seen through the window, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith exit as the train rumbles past.
And before we knew it, we had ourselves a nice little town, bustling with all kinds of ponies.
The train has moved far enough to expose a row of buildings and tents, including a station at which the train stops. Things are busy in the new town. Philly Granny walks along the opposite side of the tracks. The view then dissolves back to the present day. A close-up of the map Granny brought out for her talk, and Ponyville reappears in its proper location.
And that is how Ponyville was founded.
The map's ghostly image gives way to her gentle smile, with their faces still superimposed. She drops the map before the image dissolves to frame the entire class and cuts up to a close-up of a confounded Bloom. To her right is a mind-blowing follow-up. Silver smiling and applauding with genuine admiration. The lone sound builds into an ovation as the camera cuts to a close-up of Granny and zooms out slowly.
Oh, thank you kindly, little ponies. Now, let's settle down.
So if it weren't for you and the sap apples, Ponyville wouldn't even exist.
Darn tootin'. Darn tootin', little Philly. If it weren't for my Granny Smith, your daddy wouldn't have had barnyard bargains.
This establishes the relationship between Filthy and Diamond. Bloom backs away to the sound of general assent from the others, leaving her nemesis without a devastating comeback.
But she's just a kooky old lady.
She's not a kooky old lady. She's the most amazing pony in all of Ponyville.
Bloom nuzzles one lined green cheek to hammer the point home. It dissolved to a close-up of Bellows on the floor of the family's polka-dotted kitchen, with Granny's hooves visible behind. Bloom steps on it. They cut to a long shot of the room. The two stand before the stove, which has the bellows hooked on it, and the paint can and drop cloth still rest on the floor as Granny stirs a pot. The yellow filly is offered a spoonful of the rainbow-striped jam and swallows it blissfully. Two more dissolve, showing her grabbing a full box's rope handle in her teeth, just as her grandmother did, and a properly decorated and stocked jam stand outside. Applejack stands behind us, and Macintosh to one side, Bloom bringing up a fresh load. A long line of ponies stretching toward the horizon, many of whom bear an uncanny resemblance to the ones who turned out for the first Zap Apple Jam sale so many years ago. The only difference now is that Ponyville stands behind the far end of the colossal quay. It cut to Scootaloo, who bites eagerly into a jam-smeared slice of bread, and cut to frame her at a table. Sweetie, Twist, and Truffle are gathered with her around a spread of sandwiches and jam.
I think this is the best sap apple jam I've ever tasted.
Must be 'cause you had something to do with it, Apple Bloom.
The apprentice jam maker smiles gratefully as Granny walks up behind her.
You betcha. Apple Bloom is one humdinger of a... Whoops. You betcha. Apple Bloom is one humdinger of a Zap Apple Jammer. I am. So I take it Family Appreciation Day went well? You did. My Granny Smith is super special. I just forgot that for a little while. Aw, don't fret. I forget things all the time. Now I'll get you something.
Bloom smiles and hugs her again.
Aw, who wants to help Granny sing to the water?
We do, ha.
They race off after the elderly jam mistress, white to her back in her lavender bunny suit and jumping over the circled watering cans in front of the barn. This time, she is followed by Scootaloo and Sweetie, each of whom has donned a pair of floppy ears, and all the kids' voices are heard with hers, singing the alphabet. After G, the camera cuts to Applejack and Bloom on the sidelines. The singing fades out by the time they reach K. The next two lines are heard over the end of this.
Diamond Tiara?
Diamond is pushed into view, wearing her own set of ears and not liking it one bit, and Filthy becomes up behind her.
But, Dad?
He just raises a hoof and shoves her head toward the others and follows her. The two sisters trade a puzzled look and break out in laughter before the view fades to black.
This concludes our third episode of FimScripted. Well,
Yeah.
at least our read for Family Appreciation Day. So what are your all thoughts on this episode or the read itself?
It's fun talking like an old person.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It seems I haven't quite recovered yet, or I haven't practiced enough. Yeah.
Jennifer,
Yes?
you sound exactly like Granny Smith.
I know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, and the Apple Bloom voice is quite accurate as well.
Yeah. He's like,
I've been working on that. I've been working on that for quite a while. It's been kind of a running joke with my brony group. But sometimes I would launch into a Granny Smith impersonation.
Oh man.
Well, you're very good.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Granny Smith
Also-
is like my favorite voice of the show to try and imitate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was it that Charlie? Cause was it you could?
that was me.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I just love the kind of Little Shop of Horrors voice you put on.
Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
The narration was great too. It's the young narration of it. I love that.
I was trying
Oh
to be
yeah.
a little kid, like a boy. 'Cause he
Yeah, that was great.
He was doing an old man voice, so I was like, let me try and do a
Yeah.
boy voice to sort of keep it, I don't know, uniform.
Yeah.
At first I thought you were trying to be Bill Cosby with that, narrative one.
Yeah, something was happening like in the middle of each sentence. I just shift between voices. I can't really nail down a specific voice. It just fluctuates.
Where you try to maintain an old man voice for like several pages of text you had to read.
Well, yeah.
I admire your
You gotta pay
endurance for
attention
that.
to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you did was admirable.
Yeah.
Just sort of like a fun read. Like I didn't expect Granny's her like kid voice to actually sound so natural. But, like over lines, actually, half of them really do sound like they're from a kid or something.
You do a little bit.
Oh yeah. Almost like a mild Chucky voice on him.
I mean, just the dialogue itself just fit that naturally, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Old people and young children.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's harder to talk in a young voice more than it is in an old. I mean, like when I was thinking about the voices to use for Granny Smith, I was like, okay, I got to be like really young, but like, how do you? Oh, and then I kept thinking of like all the 3 or 4-year-olds that I come across with.
Right.
Try and listen to their speech and like, okay, let's try to imitate that.
It's funny that you say that, because I have a hard time doing an old person voice, in all honesty. Like, I do little kid voices easier than I do older people voices.
I think it's because it's more fun for me for old voices. I don't know why. It just seems more fun to do, and I've had more practice doing an old person voice than a kid voice. So
Yeah.
I guess I've had more practice being a kid.
Yeah.
I was afraid if I do a young voice, I'm gonna sound like Pinkie Pie or something. I don't know why.
Oh.
I can imagine that somewhat.
I was gonna say something like it's strange that way sometimes. When you want to do a child voice for a man, you have to go for a higher register. For an old person's voice, usually you try to put on a lower register, or something a bit more raspy like that. Maybe with the bottom lip stuck to the teeth. But with a girl, I think it's totally the opposite. you go for a higher register if you're going for a older person.
Yeah.
It's true.
Sometimes it feels like you have to like kind of, I don't know, squinch in your. I don't know if this makes any sense, but kind of squinch in your vocal cords to get. I mean, for Granny,
Yeah.
for Granny, you have to get kind of like that kind of voice, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is your old pal, Stinky Whistle Teats.
Oh.
Okay.
I was gonna say Bullwinkle, but okay.
Oh, Bullwinkle, yeah.
Now you have to say like that's really funny. A fly marrying a bumblebee.
Right. Yeah.
Little creatures in nature. They don't know that they're ugly. That's very funny. A fly marrying a bumblebee.
But now you gotta say like I told you I'd shoot, but you didn't believe me.
I told her I'd shoot, but you didn't believe me. I didn't believe me.
Oh my gosh. That voice has to be used for a future recording. I don't know how. I don't know how.
Yeah,
Oh
sometimes.
God.
Ah,
Actors,
God.
am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt a strain in my throat there. That's a sign of how long I've been out of this game. Yeah. So I used to be able to do that quite easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I love this episode. I know I say that about every episode, but this is never one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love that we get to establish just how Ponyville actually came to be.
Yeah.
I always love when they give history lessons.
Oh
Just-
yeah,
It fills the world a lot better.
yeah.
You
it
feel
really
like
does.
you know the characters more.
Yeah,
World
it really feels like the
building.
writers know what they're doing when they say this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Context is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still can't establish how Sweet Apple Acres makes all this, like all these different products, yet they're still always apparently almost bankrupt.
Yeah.
You know, they sell the apples, like they harvest several times a year. They have the apple cider, and then they have Zap apples, which pretty much are exclusively made towards them, for them. And then who knows what else other products they serve, and yet they're always in money issues.
Reminds me of Anthony C's video on it. Oh my gosh. He was like, first of all, Celestia gave them the land, so who would they owe money to? In all honesty.
That's strange.
Yeah. When you think about it, you're like, oh, right. Ugh.
Well, I don't suppose that apples cost that much, you know, in terms of selling. I don't know.
Yeah, cause what's it? Apple Bloom like dumps an entire, basically bushel of apples into Bonbon's bag, and then
Yeah.
like 4 bits, and it's
That'll be 4 bits, lady.
yeah.
I
it's only
didn't
4
put
bits
those in
for
my
all.
bag.
I know.
So they probably
just-
aren't that expensive in the
I
long
know,
run.
apart from refined grass that you see in restaurants, probably apples are their main produce, so it's mass produced and they can probably sell them for very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also have a carrot farm hiding in the background of
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of scenes.
Carrot farm.
I always found that really funny. Do you notice it? Am I the only person? I look at the backgrounds a lot.
You're like, the one thing I want to know is like, what are the pigs for?
Yeah.
Compost, or
Yeah.
that's like the only thing I can think
Maybe they're just used as recycling almost, because they just eat all of the apple cores that they don't use.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have refrigeration. That's another question.
No, we know they have refrigeration. We've seen like the fridge a few times.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. In the season 4 episode, I think it was 12. No, 10. Some Pony to Watch Over Me. was the episode that when she was at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She left the list on the fridge. Yeah. Okay, I remember. Where did I get that though? No,
I don't know.
so many questions.
Well, it's apparently powered by the power dam.
Or it's enchanted.
Yeah. It's like the technology of a question, like it's flexible.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me, like, it's like the same way, like, if you know the anime series Fairy Tail, how the setting is basically 18th century as a core setting, but they basically use magic as an alternative to technology for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, now they have magic cell phones in Fairy Tail, so...
Like they enchant everything.
Are you serious?
Magic cell phones.
Yes.
I haven't gotten that far. I'm on episode
Magic
like
cell phone.
136.
How does that even work?
Like,
They're enchanted.
communication lacryma is what I like, magic crystal sort of thing. Like, developing, like, technology trends. It's like, yeah, now we have this. No, okay, then it's like they introduced TV even earlier than that. It's like, well, you know, have TV. It's like, yeah, it's like, they sort of go with it.
Sometimes these newer programs can kind of let their, their world kind of run away with them. Like in Hunter x Hunter, I think around about the third or fourth season, we had those unexplained chimera ants. Anyone
A lot
ever
of
seen
stuff
that one?
they add is just for plot too, just because they can and because the story arc needs it for that one thing.
Oh yeah, but this was especially weird. Like, you had an island that was devoid of technology and all forms of outside world connections, and then you had this mysterious chimera ant who ate all these people and gave birth to all these like superpowered things, and she apparently ate all these animals like lions and koalas and stuff, and somehow when they were born like half human, half cheetah and stuff, and they all had clothing that you didn't even see on the island, and it didn't make any sense,
Actually, sort of reminds me of Academy Alala Kill or whatever. It's one of the newer popular animes, and it's like the setting is like, yeah, we're in medieval setting with swords and all that, but we'll just have a snow cone here and sort of like modern packaging. Like, let's just have some magazines, like anime magazines over here. It's like, yeah, let's just go with that. Like, it's sort of endearing how they just so don't care in that series for like the settings. Like, yeah, we'll just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
That's what makes me appreciate
Yeah.
My Little Pony though, because they do care, or they've started to anyway, a lot more.
Oh
The
yeah.
fan pandering.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, like that reminds me of a funny joke I remember hearing with you've all seen the episode previews, right?
Oh yeah.
No. Please, no spoilers.
I won't spoil much, but like let me just do one like with the creature sort of thing that's involved. Like it's a panda with wings. So if you would pronounce it like when people are pronouncing it as panda wing.
It's a panda wasp.
Yes, but like it's a panda with wings. It's panda wing.
What?
Oh, panda wing.
No.
Wait. That's actually in the episode?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, what?
It's this monster that the main six are distracted by, so they can't deal with this wedding. But
Oh
it's like-
my god.
What the?
Oh,
It's like,
What?
what is this?
oh my god.
As soon as I saw this panda thing, I just thought of that episode of Avatar where they're just sitting around. They get a
They're just,
message
like,
from
random.
the Earth King, and they're like, he's invited us to take care of his bear, and they're like, surely you mean platypus bear? No, just a regular bear. And I just imagine the Avatar guy saying like, the Ponyville want us to come over and deal with this panda wasp.
That is, I like Avatar the series. But like some of the animal combinations were just like weird.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
turtle duck.
I mean, some of them turned out awesome. Like the polar bear dog was awesome. Like there's
Yeah.
no denying that was awesome. But like
And the
I think
puma
it's like
cat.
it's like there was one that was like platypus bear, and like there's like a moose something. I forget what it was. A moose was something else. It was like predator. It's like this makes no sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, you already had things like giant flying bison and
Yeah.
flying lemur. Why do you need so many weird combinations of things?
Like it's like the ones that actually put care into, like it's like neat. So like the flying lemur and like the flying bison, it's like you can see there's like some of the ones there's like it's a kid show, let's just go crazy with it. Like that's where
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
all the badger moles. I mean, see that actually made sense. Like the giant badger moles, like they actually looked like they were apart. But it's like some of the things like the platypus bear is like what?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for next week's episode. Just knowing that Panda Wing. I can't believe they actually did that.
Well, in the other preview, they have Octavia and Vinyl on a big kind of rolling dubstep machine jumping a toy shark.
No.
Is actually in there, you know.
Jumping the shark. Why?
What? Oh!
No.
Henry Winkler did it twice, you know.
Like here's the thing I could say about like pandering to the audience or whatnot. As long as it's not a bad thing as long as it doesn't affect the story. And like this episode, it's clearly part of the story about how much they're pandering to the audience. They fully embrace it. And like that's what I think is probably going to make it work. Like my issues with like Magic Duel and all that was like sort of like half-baked pandering. Like where like you could see where like there was inserted just for inserting, but like didn't make sense. So like what's their name?
Trixie?
Sakura's training
Oh.
like that really amounted to nothing. Like yeah, it's like that was either a cut plot line, which is actually possible, or they just inserted her for the for the Yoda moment.
Yeah, basically.
Like this episode is like, yeah, we're fully embracing the insanity, so it'll be a fun ride.
Oh god.
Yeah, because they probably know that these characters aren't going to be showing up, you know, in other episodes, so why not?
Oh. The ride never ends. Don't forget, you're here forever.
Yeah.
But I just do find it very weird that like it was 3-week break in between episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was I guess 2-week break. Whatever. It was a long break just out of nowhere for this.
Yeah. Just enough time to spoil everything. Jeez.
But that actually brings it like they're actually going to have like I said, one interesting thing is what this season is. They'll be going over Comic-Con, so like they'll probably do an extra special stuff for Comic-Con this year, I imagine. And actually, it'll probably also be
Last year?
what?
Were they there last year?
Oh, they've been there since like season 1 was done.
Huh.
They've just been building up like But yeah, they actually I think even last year they had like a My Little Pony like bus, like you know they have like bus things for like people like for the parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
the amusement park like buses that like pull you around from like large parking lots. They had like
Yeah.
one that was like fully decked out with My Little Pony stuff.
Oh man.
But like also like one of the interesting thing I would like to see is more info released on the next Equestria Girl film,
Oh yeah.
because that should hopefully I think it's still coming out this fall.
Totally forgot about that.
Yes.
Seriously.
No.
Isn't it just Sunset Shimmer based this time? Or do we know? I mean, they have like books that they've put out already that I've seen.
It's supposed to be like based on the friendship games. It's going to be like a competition between Equestria High and is their school name, right? Or no, Wonder Colts.
Just Canada
Shadow
Rock.
Bolts.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna be like Candle High versus like the Shadow Bolts from another team. And one of the Shadow Bolts members, apparently, at least from the toy lines and all that, is actually going to be actual world Twilight. I mean,
Yeah.
the world Twilight. So it's like, yeah, she'll at least in some way be an antagonist of some sort.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be interesting. That does make more sense though as to why they made them look different. Because if they're gonna have her be an antagonist, they're gonna have to make the other Twilight. You know what I mean? Like they have to make sure that they're separate. As
Right.
opposed to, you know.
And I think it'll also be some fun because like it'll give like some room for the other main, like the rest of the main six, and also Sunset to like sort of shine without like basically Twilight being a helping hand in that universe.
Yeah.
But let me see. I said I am interested in it, and I think it was just sort of funny. Like after the first Sequestered Girls film, like it was sort of mixed, and like that one was like people sort of lost hype for it. Then like Rainbow Rocks came out, and like it was basically a silent bomb that went off within the fandom. Like, oh yeah, you should really see this film.
Yeah.
I liked the first movie up until the last like 20 minutes. And then the second movie I was perfectly fine with.
They're both enjoyable. The music is awesome. And if you see it with a big group of bronies, honestly, I think it's just that much better.
I don't live anywhere near anybody. That's why I'm like, oh, well, that's fun. We didn't even have any showings in any theaters near me. Even.
I don't know. I never can get used to the first one.
So you haven't seen the second one?
Oh, I've seen both. Yeah.
All right, just making sure. It's like I highly recommend. Like some people haven't seen the second. It's like, yeah, it really fixes a lot of things.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the songs relevant too.
Yeah.
Because the songs are really catchy. They're pretty short, but it's okay.
Right.
Yeah. There are just a couple of things I don't quite answer.
Like what?
Well, the book that Sunset Shimmer pulls out of her locker, for instance, is that how she found out that, you know, there's a new princess out there? Because that's never really explained.
That might.
Right.
Because, you know, I always wonder this, how, well, she somehow found out that, you know, Twilight's become a princess and she's staying over in this castle that she's never ever seen.
If you
Well,
oh, sorry.
I was thinking of the 100 Moons or whatever. Maybe like she actually did do some spying or something.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, it's a little.
Have you read the comic book series?
Yeah, I've read both. You mean the full thing?
Yeah.
Which one are you referring to?
Just like all of there are a few that they
I've got them all.
Price has made where it explains like how she knows specific things and where she turned bad, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of covers that a little bit, but it doesn't go into the detail of after that. The question really is, how does she know who Twilight Sparkle is, even just as a student of Princess Celestia? Because she was a student before Twilight Sparkle, so how would she know who it is after her?
Secret answer is Princess Celestia is a two-timer when it comes to students.
Whoa. Well then.
Which, knowing their age difference, actually somewhat makes sense. Or, no, actually, I think the canon was actually she basically got done with Sunset right when she picked up Twilight, which age-wise doesn't really make sense. So
yeah, that's why everybody's so confused about it. 'Cause it's like she's suddenly a human, like teenager, and so is Twilight. Yeah, and they all go to the same school, like in the 1970s. They had middle school. weird.
Yeah. An all-vegetarian school. Oh.
Wow.
Actually, no, they have hamburgers there.
Yeah,
Hamburgers and Taco Tuesday and
Taco Tuesday!
Yeah, but it could be maybe corn or something.
maybe turkey burgers.
That actually reminded me of a funny joke like they had. It was like one of the comics that was like right after the original Question Girls. They like had Twilight eating a hamburger. It's like, this is good. What is it? It was like, oh yeah, it's pork and like something. And then like they had a fade back to when she was back in Equestria, like surrounded
Oh,
by
yeah.
AJ's farm, and it's like she has this like look of just horror on her face.
I've seen that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, when is the next one predicted to be out?
What do you mean?
Reading?
You know, the next Equestria Girls.
Like what?
Oh.
What do you mean at like release time or like
Yeah, release time, you know.
I think it's so fall this year. Again,
Like late fall or early fall?
I don't really know. I think they actually left it broad where it's like they say, yeah, we're releasing in fall. They don't really give a date, but
Yeah.
I'm still hoping it's not too late because I'm actually really looking forward to it this year.
You know, maybe it'll come out just before Brony Scott, you know, and then it might be something like we can all talk about during our panel. Well, me, Mark, and Ellie.
I guess any final thoughts before we cut off the broadcast?
No.
No, I'm all set here.
All right. Well, that was third episode of FimScripted. See y'all next time.